Hello and welcome to Cheshire Audio. Now, I've got another review for you. This is Rothwell Rialto Phonostage. The interesting thing about this, this has been available for a long time. It's not a new product. It's been on my favourites list for years, really, Phonostage-wise. And my fault entirely. I haven't been selling them because, like a lot of companies, Rothwell had issues through COVID, like Exposure and Sugden and Tricord did, that availability was virtually zero for a long time, actually, after COVID. It's purely down to parts. And I kept forgetting, kept thinking to myself, well, I should ring Andrew and see how things are going, just see, reconnect and just see where we're up to, is there any stock available? And it actually took a customer ringing me the other day to make me think, no, I need to do this. I need to, let's find out what's going on. So, yeah. Everything's available. It's all, so here we are. I've got a Rialto, I've got a Simplex, which I'll do a separate review of. And there's various other products as well. So I want to expand on what I'm doing with Rothwell a bit, because everything he does is brilliant. He's a very, very clever electronics engineer. One of the few, and I've said this before, one of the few who understand phonostages and the requirements involved, really. I'm not saying I know, but it does seem to be certain people have this special understanding of phonostage. It's because it's such a small signal that you're playing with, and it's not really quite like designing an amplifier per se. There's a lot more going on there. There's a bit of black magic going on. What I like particularly about the Rialto and the Simplex, because there's a lot of parallels really, is the fact that there's no concessions to user friendliness. There's no, it's designed to sound as good as it can do for the money. And if there's something which makes it easier to use, but it detracts from the sound quality, you don't get it. And I really like that about Rothwell. I think it's to be admired, really, because there will be people out there who probably don't buy a Rialto because it doesn't have certain features. But what I would say to you is go onto the Rothwell website, look up the Rialto. There's a big spiel about it that Andrew's written, that explains in detail why certain things aren't there, why things have been left out, why things are designed in a certain way. It's really interesting, and it bears out in the sound of these things, because it's up there with some of the best out there, really. And for the money, it's ridiculously good value. I'll go on to the pricing in a minute and where it stands, but talking about features and what isn't there, but basically, tiny little box. You'll notice there's no on-off switch at all. All we've got is in and out, power supply in, and a little grounding post. Very simple, very tiny little box. It's actually quite weighty considering, but tiny little box. I will open this up in a minute actually and show you inside, because as we're going to talk about in a minute. It's moving coil, moving magnet, but there's no switch. Because if you put the switch on the back, there's issues with signal length and all this sort of thing. You're adding bits of wire in, socketry on the outside and all this sort of thing. It makes it more expensive and it affects the sound, so it hasn't got it. The switch is inside, right on the circuit board, to keep those distances as short as possible. Also, and this is I can imagine this being quite difficult for some people, because there's this whole thing on the internet of obsessiveness about cartridge loading and all that sort of thing. There's no loading adjustment at all on this. I think it's set for 100 ohm, whatever. Now the reason for that is, and I agree entirely with this, and I know some people won't, but I agree entirely with this, particularly at this level, the differences of the different loading settings for cartridges, it's negligible. It's a negligible difference. But what is a big difference is if you put all the switching on there, and again, we're talking about signal path again, that makes a bigger degradation than you would ever retrieve again by having adjustment. So take it off, don't have it. Just set it to something that covers most things. Similarly, gain, it's set to 62 dB. It kind of covers most things. It's very rare that you would need any more than that, really, any more gain than that. So it hasn't got it, no more switching. So if you want to change from moving coil to moving magnet, you take the case off. There's two switches inside, and I'll take the case off in a sec, like I say, and show you that. That's no great hassle, to be honest, because how often are you switching between coil and magnet? When you buy it, probably, and if you do a cartridge, in a few years' time, if you do a cartridge upgrade, 4 screws, 2 switches, put it back together, and I think that is like it's a brave thing to do, but I applaud him for it. I think it's a really, because it's all about, you just could tell he really cares what this thing sounds like. He wants it to be the best it can possibly be. So yeah, okay, we could have a switch, but I'm not doing that. So brilliant stuff. Really, really like that for that. And the sound quality, I think with the Rothwells, they've all got this sort of characteristic of being very clean and clear. I mean, I know Andrew spends a lot of time sort of filtering the mains and all that sort of thing. It's all about noise. It's a bit like Tom Evans. Tom Evans that sort of takes it to the extremes, really. I mean, you're talking about £12,000–15,000 phonostages with Tom. You can get really, really high end with it. But Andrew's applying this to things at sort of sensible level, really. The Rialto at the moment is £385, so it's undercutting things like the Tom Evans microgroove. It's more expensive than things like the Riga Phono, but it's substantially better than the Riga Phono. I prefer it probably to the Lehman. I think it's got more about it than the Lehman, really. I don't know. And the actual sound signature of it is very, very neutral. Very good at sort of picking out instruments, putting them in their own space. This is a noise thing that's allowing this, really. First impression sometimes, a little bit like Tom Evans, is that it can sound a bit bass light. It isn't at all. And I think what it is, it's so clean in the bass that you hear the bass note and the actual reality of it. You're not hearing any bloom at all. So, which at this price point is crazy, really. It's not. It's kind of a budget phonostage. I know £385 is a lot of money, but in the world of the phonostage, it's a budget phonostage. It's not an expensive item, but the attention to detail is crazy on it. So there's no power supply upgrade available for this. If you read Andrew's spiel, he explains why it's not necessary in this. I mean, it's to do with the. I've forgotten why it's something to do with being Class A circuitry inside. I think read it and prove me wrong. I can't remember the reasoning for it. But I mean, some of the manufacturers, they add power supplies, and you can improve their phonostages with better power supplies. Apparently, not necessary or not worthwhile with this. It doesn't need it because of the way it's designed, which is interesting as well, actually. So yeah, really, really like it, and I think it's a good addition. It's certainly, it's a big improvement over your internal phonostages on anything. If you upgraded to like a Riga Phono MM and that sort of thing, it's a good enough upgrade for you to sell your old Riga Phono and buy this instead. It's not like it's not enough better, which you would quite often find with phonostages at £300–400. They're not enough better than the Riga, I don't think. But this really is. I mean, this is closer in performance to something like a Tom Evans than it is to your Rigas and your projects and all that sort of thing around the bottom end. It's got the sort of got the higher end credentials about it, that attention to detail that gives you the clarity and that sort of musical insight that you get with a really well thought through phonostage. Sounds like I'm overplaying this, but it is. It's a really good product. It's and I know, like I say, people will be probably appalled at the fact that it hasn't got loading adjustment, and appalled at the fact there's no on-off switch. But I don't care. I think it's really good that he's done that. I mean, the phonostage itself doesn't pull that much current. The fact it hasn't got an on-off switch isn't an issue because it really doesn't pull much current. I mean, I think the quote on the website I read was that it pulls less current than most things do when they're sat on standby. So, it's barely anything at all. And products like this like to be left on quite often. They like to be sort of nice and warmed through. Still don't understand why, but it seems to be a thing. But so anyway, I'll leave it at that. I just remembered I was going to have a look inside this actually. So I was just about to end the video and I thought, hang on. So what I'll do, I'll just cut the camera now, and I'll take the lid off this one and show you inside it, because it's quite a nice, neat little product inside. So there you go, Rothwell Rialto. It's a nice brushed aluminium front fascia, sort of screen printing on it. Tiny box. I mean, it's probably, I don't think it's even 4 inches wide, to be honest. So it doesn't take much space up on a shelf. I've noticed with Rothwells that they don't seem to be that susceptible to noise. Phonostages generally are, but the Rothwells seem to be I wouldn't say they're not susceptible to it, but they're better than a lot of them really, at picking things up. They don't seem to be too flustered by things nearby. Could be to do with the filtering, I suppose. I don't know. I don't know enough about it to say really, but they do seem to be better at rejecting stuff. I've taken the screws out, so we'll just take the lid off. Seemingly sort of dual monoed inside, I would guess. Your little switches for magnet coil are hit there and there, left and right. You just flick the switch and we're now on magnet. Now back on coil again. Simple as that really. 4 screws, 2 switches. That's all you have to do. So it's not any great problem, but the fact it's on this part of the board here means there's no, because normally you'd have a cable to the back and then going back again, and it's not ideal. So, like I say, hats off to Andrew for not giving in to user friendliness really. But it's not a great problem really, to be honest. So yeah, very simple design, but it just works. I mean, you can see there's a sort of level of obsessiveness going on here, and it seems to be that's the requirement for phonostages. If you don't sort of attend to the details, then you don't get the results. So anyway, that's the Rothwell for you. So that's the Rialto. I will be reviewing more sort of Rothwell products sort of in the future. Quite when I don't know yet, but I'll work my way through a few things because there's a few bits I would really like to get hold of and try. But yeah, that's for the future. Do have a look at the website though. Actually, it's a really, really well written website. There's loads of really good information about the products and why they're as good as they are. I feel like I've learned a bit from reading it anyway, so it's worth. Not that you know it from listening to this review because it's completely non-technical. But anyway, it's all about sound quality. That's what's important. So yeah, don't forget to give a subscribe and a like. Trying to think what's coming up next. I'll review the Atoll 300 amplifier coming soon, actually. If I can summon up the energy to actually get it out of its box, because it's ridiculously heavy. That's coming soon, anyway. So yeah, thanks for watching. I will see you in a future video. Thanks very much.